Hi, I'm Tom Stevenson and welcome to Microsoft Project, the course. Today I thought we could review a project file that is well along its way to being set as a baseline. In the previous classes we've told you everything from how to link activities, to add resources, to add costs, to update, to recover, to set up a calendar. So today I thought we'd just take a little bit more advanced file. And remember, in Microsoft Project, the course, you can download the files that I'm using in the particular video by going to the Google Drive link in the description below. So you can go along and you can try things that I'm trying on these schedules. And people have often asked me on YouTube, could I have access to a file? And I never really did that before this course. So hopefully that helps you. I'll also have a list of the previous videos. So if you're new to Microsoft Project, you can go right back to video 1 and start there and work your way through it, and then you'll get up to this level. But if you've been working through it, so this is a new video. And please, if you're new to the channel, I'm a professor of construction management. I teach this all the time with real-world professionals in the construction world. And I have a lot of videos on my channel on construction management besides just Microsoft Project. So help me join or help me expand this community. And click subscribe, click notifications so when you see new videos come up, you can check them out. Okay, so I've got this schedule. It's for this new township administrative building. And so this schedule here involves a work breakdown structure. And I've got a few things that aren't quite right with it and aren't quite done with it. And I thought I'd just discuss some of these things. I still won't complete this during this video, but I just want to go over things that you need to look at and problems that I see people run into. To start out with, one of the things that I really like to check out is everything linked up? Like I can see problems right here, right? Like I can see problems right off the bat. I don't see a critical path here. I see it starting the project here, and then I see this and it's not linked to anything. And then I see this, it's back at the start date. So what happens when you don't link something? It'll likely move back to the start date. And it'll probably not make any kind of sense when you do that. So it'll probably move back to the start date and it'll likely not make any kind of sense in your project schedule. So you have to make sure that everything is linked. And this is a pretty big project. So it's got a number of activities that are linked up. It's got things kind of flowing up and down, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. It's a little bit more complicated than the office or the school remodel project we've been working on up to this point. So I see that there's some links missing. So what I usually will do is I will insert the column, right click, insert column, successors. And so I type S for successors, and then it should bring up all the columns with S. Click on successors. And now what I'm going to do, I don't need to have it that wide, that's for sure. I'm going to pull that together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check and I'm going to filter for predecessors and successors. And so I do one at a time. I'm going to go predecessors, and I'm going to go select all, show me the blank ones. So I select all, show me the blank ones, and then it clicks and it just shows me the blank predecessors. Okay, so all I see here is the blank predecessors. Now the first predecessor, letter of intent, the first activity, letter of intent, it shouldn't have a predecessor. Okay? And the last activity won't have a successor. But for now, we're just looking at predecessors. And I've got all these headings, and they're kind of in my way right now. So I'm going to go to Format, Summary Tasks, and I'm going to see, okay, so I've got this one, number 11, doesn't have a predecessor, and number 18 doesn't have a predecessor. So what I might do is write that down so I can remember them, right? So I'll take a pen, and I'll write down that it's 11 and 18. So I know I got to fix those two. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to just click on that filter. I'm going to go select all, click OK. It's going to bring all my activities back. I'm going to bring my summary task back too. And I'm going to take a look at row 11 and row 18. I can look at them both when I put the control key down. And so, okay, yeah, excavation sub. This one I want this one to link up to number 17, so that's easy enough. So I'm going to just type 17, and I'm going to click enter, and that fixes that one, right? So you notice that it also put in the successor for 17 is 18 at the same time. So that's saving me a little bit of trouble later on in case I've got some successors missing. All right, so the other one was number 11. And I've got this one here, hoardings and signage. And you know what? I wanted to set this one up linked to actually, you know what? I'm going to link this one up to number 9, just so that you don't think that they always have to be in order or anything. It's got to be in the order you want your project to be run in, and that makes sense for the sequencing. So I am going to put in number 9 over here. All right, so that is fixing that one. I'm noticing I don't have a successor to site layout, so that's probably going to come up. And I'm noticing there's a few missing over here. I don't know if there's too many more. Like, you could check it this way, right? Just flowing down. I can see the headings. The headings should not have any successors or predecessors. You don't link to headings. And some of you are maybe saying, oh, why is he doing this? It's not that important. It's very important. It's very important. And I mean, some of the biggest and brightest companies, they make mistakes where they leave off links, and it costs them a lot of problems. It changes your dates, often dramatically, when you don't have the links there. Just this afternoon, I was talking with a student, and I was going through his file for a project. And I said, you know, right away, I can see you've got a lot of open ends. It means your schedule is not going to be correct. There's no way it's going to be correct when you've got a lot of links that haven't been taken care of. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm now going to filter the successors, right? So I'm going to go select all. I saw a few of them, but let's see. So let's see. I just filtered it. It just moved it up on the top here. And yeah, those 3 that I saw. Site layout, which is row 10. I've got row 30 and row 31. All right, so I now know which ones I have to fix, right? So I've got these 3 that I have to fix up over here. Now, I'm also, if I want to get rid of my, summary tasks, I could do that. And you'll see total completion. That's the last activity we've got in this. It's a milestone. And so it doesn't have a successor. That one's fine. That one is fine. It does not need it. It's the last activity. There's nothing after it. Okay, so I clicked on summary tasks just to bring them back in, and I'm going to unfilter this. I've written down 10, 30, 31, and so I'm good to go with that. Click OK. So I could now fix those. But I also want to show you the other way, and I've shown you this in the earlier videos, but you know, it's been a while and you probably forgot it. It seems from my experience that people forget this. Go to the network diagram, and again, I can see here, see how that site layout is just hanging there. It's just sitting out there. Let's see, and the other 2, there they are. They're sitting out there. Now, if I knew what I wanted to connect it up to, I could zoom this in so you could see it. If I knew what I wanted to connect it up to, I could just do that. So for example, if I hover over this, temporary power, site layout, if I wanted to hook that up or link that up to temporary power, I could do that in this screen and it would fix it. So I could do that in the screen. I can just grab it with the left mouse button, pull. See that little chain? If I grab it and let go, it'll link it there. All right, so it'll link it there. Right, so you can do that easy enough if it's close by. Sometimes it might not be so close by. Maybe it's somewhere down there and it's a little bit awkward and you can't see it that well, right? Like I could obviously zoom this in and scroll along and find those ones, rough and drain connection, water supply, rough in connection. Maybe I want them to be connected to, well, we've got install perimeter. We've got install perimeter rigid insulation. So maybe we don't need that to be connected to this, but maybe we need that to be connected to backfill. So maybe we can put that there and we can run that there. And so basically this is running through to backfill here, right? So I've got those now connected up. So I fixed that there. If I slide back and I go to my Gantt chart, it would be fixed over here. So those ones that we had with the drains, where they are right now, let's take a look here. Probably up here somewhere, slab on grade, where are we? Substructure, there we are. You see now they're corrected up here. Now everything is in a big bunch down here, and so I might want to take a little bit closer look and zoom in a little bit. So I'm in the bottom right corner and I'm just zooming in. I might want to zoom it that I can see it by the days, and then I could just bring it up on my screen once I get it right down on the menu here to days. Another little tip that I've told you before, double click here and it brings up the time scale. You can minimize this down to like 55%, click OK, and then you can click on this activity here, click task, scroll to task, and it should bring it up on your screen. Now I can see it a lot better, right? I can see it a lot better what's going on in through here, right? In through there. And a second ago when I was just down probably over where my picture is, you just click the minus to scroll it in till you see days, and then double click the time scale so that you can zoom in. Okay, so I can see that's looking a lot better. So still my critical path is flowing through here. So my critical path is flowing through here. These are linked up to there. Those were the two I did in the other screen. And so there is that flow there. Now that's looking a lot better. So I've checked it really 3 ways. One, I can check it really from the beginning of the project to the end visually, right? So visually I can check it. And really what you need to do is you need to go through this and go activity by activity and ask yourself if this is making sense from how you want to build your project. Go from one end to the other of the entire project, right? One end to the other, making sure that all of these linkages make sense. So that would take you some time because you're thinking about the project. You may be questioning your methodology on some things, but this is time well spent here. Time well spent going through these elements and seeing what is going on. Now you see here too, and I'm just scrolling along the bottom again behind my picture. Sorry about that, but pull that back here. You see here some arrows are pointing, some arrows will point down, some arrows will point up, right? So it's not necessarily in the exact order because you've got these headings, right? And so the headings sometimes will distort how the project is flowing and shaped, which can make it a little bit hard if you're trying to do that analysis and see how the project is going. So what I suggest, again, you've got the project largely built out, now you're reviewing it. What I strongly suggest that you do is that you go to Format, you undo the summary tasks. So go to Format, undo the summary tasks, right? So now you don't have the summary tasks, but you still have this messiness going on with some things down, some things up, some things over here, right? Back and forth and up and down quite a bit, right? Way up here. You can make it go and flow the way the project does. So a lot of people don't know this, you know, and they're using Microsoft Project and they're missing some of the things that you can do. So what you can do is you can just go to Start and you can say sort this earliest to latest. Now watch. From beginning to end, it's all forming a line. You see that? It's all forming a nice even line. Now you could really see the sequence of the activities and how they're going to flow on your project, right? It's not like up, down, and all over the place. It's in order. Look at that. Nice, straight order right through the entire project. And you could be reviewing this in this order. So this is the sequence that you want these activities to flow out in. Really, really nice, really easy to do. And not only do I suggest that you go from beginning to end, I suggest you go from end to beginning and you start thinking about things in reverse, right? And what needs to connect in reverse. So in other words, if I'm talking about carpet installed, what do I need to have done before I have, or what do I want to have done before the carpet's installed? Maybe in this case, I want to have the ceiling tile installed. So you're going backwards with it and seeing if that makes sense. Looking at it from both directions, you're less likely to miss something, and you're more likely to catch some of the things that you perhaps didn't quite think through, or that you made just a quick little mistake on. That can be really, really helpful for you from that perspective. Okay, so I just want to also point out too, the numbers here. Look at the numbers. Like I've got 88, 59, 50, 62, 63, 52, 89, 66, 73. It's up, and see how the numbers are not in order. Well, that's because we sorted it from earliest to latest. So now if you want to fix it, what you should do is, number one, I would bring back the summary task. That mostly fixes it. And then I would also, just to make sure, I would go to View, Sort by ID. And now they should be in sequence, just the way you had it before. So now everything is under the headings the way you originally set it out. But of course, things are now out of order. But you can always go and check it and look at it straight off. Much easier to do that than to see these are down here, these are up there. That can be confusing when you're trying to see, is this the sequence of everything that I want? This way it's nice with our work breakdown structure because we got everything under our categories of work, right? Now, the next thing, tip, because we're working on this thing, resources. I can do the same thing with resources. So in a previous Microsoft project, the course, I think it was maybe the fourth one, which is called resources. We went through how do we create resources and how do we add resources, right? So we created, a slide to the left, the resource sheet. And we created our resources there. So I've got some that are like self-performing employees by work, by an hourly rate. I got a bunch of subcontractors. I got one as a material that I'm going to do by measurement. I don't even think I applied that one yet. So if I go back to my Gantt chart, I should have a resource assigned to pretty much every activity, or if I'm doing a management process, I should have them assigned to maybe a summary task where I want maybe my site super and my PM to be. I'm noticing a few blanks here. So if I wanted to see which ones are blank, because I've got a lot of them filled in too, I could do the same thing I just did, right? I could go filter this, select all, show me the blank ones. Click OK. All right, a lot of headings, right? A lot of headings that don't have them, and a lot of activities. And so I might say, oh, letter of intent, apply for permits, tendering, procurement. You know what? These are going to be people that work for us, like my site super and my PM. I'm going to apply that to pre-construction. So I would go to my resource, assign resources, and while I've got it filtered, I would say I am going to assign my site super 20% of the time for this. So they're not going to be on pre-construction the whole time. I'm going to assign my PM because we got all those procurements to do. We got basically apply for permits, permit approved, tendering, and procurements. I'm going to apply the PM 30% of the time, a little bit more for them to do at that stage. Sign. All right, and of course it's doing the costs and everything that we talked about in the previous resource. Then I'm going to go to construction. I noticed that I have one laborer assigned to, that means I'm going to have that laborer there the whole project. And I'm saying, okay, well, that's all right. I want to do that. And I'm going to go back to my PM, and I'm going to say they're 50% assigned. So this probably means that they're on another project too. So they got this project, they're going to be looking after this project 50% of the time and the other project 50% of the time. So I budgeted $62,400. Now I'm going to go to my site super and I'm going to say I want them 100% on this. I'm going to assign them 100%. And of course, they're going to be double the money because they're there twice as long. So that is showing me the different costs that I've applied to that summary task. I would want to go down here and then again on closeout, right? Maybe on closeout, I am going to need, well, I'm going to need the site super 100%. If I just click assign, it'll do 100%. I'm going to do the PM. And maybe during that last stretch, I'm going to have the PM there 80% of the time. And so that's what I'm budgeting on those amounts. And these are variable costs by hourly rates, even though you're probably paying them a wage. That's about as close as you're going to get in this cost loading structure. But again, I'm going to go through this and I'm going to check, the ones that are blank, who is going to be doing the temporary power. Oh, I should be assigning my electrician. So I'm going to go to my electrical sub. And what am I paying the electrician for this? What have I budgeted? All right, I budgeted $6,000. Sign it, and now I've got that assigned to the temporary power, right? If I got to make a decision, maybe on the inspections, I could put the individual ones, or is that going to be looked after by the project manager and site super? If it is, then maybe I leave those inspection ones blank, right? But at least I'm looking at it and making sure that everything is taking place. Facilities training, all right? Well, facilities training, who's going to do that? It's going to be the HVAC sub, let's say, for the building systems, and I'm going to assign the HVAC sub. Maybe I've got from their quote that's worth $3,000 as an example. Substantial completion, this would be something that the PM would be working on. Operation maintenance manuals, handovers, again, that could be one of the building systems. It depends who you have and what the requirements are. But you want to make sure that these things are taken care of. If these are pretty much going to be the PM and site super looking after, then you've got it covered here. If not, then you need to put it in. So you need to make sure that everything has somebody accountable for it, is my point with this, and detail it out. And then when you're done, unfilter it, click OK, and now you've got everything selected back, right? And so you should also make sure that in this case, you've got your cost, right? So you've got your cost. And what is your cost totaling? Is this totaling what you're budgeting for the project? Right? So is this the budget amount that you've applied those costs? Should work out to what you've budgeted at this point, right? So then when you set the baseline, because all we're doing is we're doing a little review before we would set the baseline on this. Okay, so we're doing a little review before we'd set the baseline. And I'm noticing that when I did this original file before the video, I've got it set at September 5th, 2021. Very often too, your project is set for whatever day you started this. Well, we're way ahead of that now, right? Like years ahead of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go project information, because I haven't set the baseline. So I can now set what I want the project start date to be. So maybe I'm going to zoom this ahead a little bit, that we want to start this project. We will say May 22nd. How's that? Say May 22nd. I'll click OK. And now it's starting May 22nd. Another thing you should think about too when you're doing a master schedule is, well, I put in this date now, May 22nd, right? If I go down here, more than likely, when is this stuff happening, right? When is this stuff happening? Landscaping. So if it let's take a good look here. So I'm going to just scroll to task and look at the landscaping. Well, I don't know about that. See, we've got hardscape, softscape, exterior cleanup, right? We've got this stuff. This project looks like it's going to be finishing. Let me go to the entry view so we can see the dates. Click the square icon, right click, entry. And if we go down here to the bottom, we've got this thing finishing in March of 2024. But look, again, people are watching from all over the world, but I'm in Toronto, Canada, and I can tell you it's not going to be great putting down grass, trees, and shrubs at the end of December. Okay, we might be able to pull it back into November, but that won't work. So we would have to look and review this schedule to see, can we get this started earlier? Can we get this started earlier? Either that, or you got to look at, can we delay this part? Because you're getting close to, March, right? Is it okay if the grass, shrubs, and stuff goes in, say, beginning of April? Beginning of April, we can do it, but not in March even, right? Beginning of April. Right now, it's March and I see snow outside. So that's not the best timing. You've got to look at things for the timing that they're happening too, because you got to remember that project is just sequencing all of this and you're putting the connections, but then you got to look at, okay, this is coming at this time. Do we have to move it? If so, where? But you can only do what fits your project and what fits your ability with sequencing. But it's something that you got to review, so you're matching your technical expertise with the scheduling software with what actually has to get done, which is reality. You have to make sure that the expertise and the technical calculations that project is doing matches your reality, not just what the scheduling software is saying. So I'm just telling you, you gotta spend a little bit of time when I've been going through the first 11 videos. Well, the last one I kind of got into some theory on it too, and video number 11. Take a look at that if you haven't seen it. But if you don't do this, it's going to be all messed up. So think about your project, and that's why using it, reviewing it, checking it, making sure that it makes sense. It's also building in your mind. It's going to help you then when you actually start the project, because it won't go exactly the way you planned. That's why we update it. That's why we recover it. I think in the next video I might go over the grassroots, and I did go through that in video number 11, but also sort of what are we actually doing here, the theory behind it, so that you can visualize everything that we've been discussing. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I'm Tom Stevenson, wishing you a wonderful day. If you like this video, please make sure that you click subscribe. Also, you might be interested in my planning and scheduling textbook, which I've written, that kind of gives an overview of project management and planning and scheduling in construction. So check it out. I'll put a little link to it in the description. All the best, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.